Right, so we were, after having seen the opinions by regard to Madriga, which we call ANC. So we saw Kamadeya's Bazaar in the great authorities in the Kabbalah. We saw that the Ramakas of the opinion that the expression ANC refers mamish to Atzmusay Yisborach. And then we saw the Deya of the Ramam in Pano that the Rotzen Kaviochel Lamaila or China is what is called ANC. And then we saw the Deya of the Arizal. What the Arizal held is not child to say that the China is ANC. But the Arizal learned that there was a middle Madrega between Atzmusay Yisborach, which is not tried to call Ein Sof Klal, and the union of Keser and the Eser Spheres after the union of Keser, a Madrega M choice, which is called the Ein Sof. And we'll see about that as we go further along, that's the union from Oyer, and then later Chilukim in this immediate Hemshech will come to deal with the union of the Oyer Ein Sof. However, the Arizal held that in the union in Madregas HaKeser, you already have a Gila of the Ein Sof, but that's this Madrega, not Mamish Atzmusay and not the union from Keser, and that's Al Choponim Bechina Taktoina Shubamatzil. And we saw that that's a difficulty in the Lashon of the Arizal. We'll see more about that as we go along. And we dealt now, in order to understand all of those points, we had to be mafarish this concept of the Ein Sof. What we see that the ultimate pirush of Ein Sof is shanui b'ma machlokes in these great authorities, and that's virtually where we were holding. Today, to understand that, we began with the pasuk Ani Yavai Eloi Shonisi. Now, the truth of the matter is that the pasuk is not really written exactly that way. It's a pasuk. We were slightly in a hurry the other night when we mentioned that it's not in Yeshayahu or Novi. No, it's in the last of all the Nevi'im. That's at the end of the 12 latter prophets. It's in Malachi Hanovi. Well, he's the last of what we call the Trei Osah, the 12 latter prophets. And over there it's written a pasuk. Ki ani Hashem lo shonisi. Ki, it begins with a ki. Ki ani avai lo shonisi. That's how the pasuk occurs. V'atem b'nei Yaakov lo chilisem. And you, the sons of Jacob, have not literally passed away or how do you call it, reached your end or reached what's the word? A cessation, how do you call it? You have not ceased or reached an end. Vatem b'nei Yaakov lo chilisem. That's the pasuk. So, as we mentioned earlier the other night, this is one of the places where Siddur teaches an interesting type of pirush in the pasuk. Because if we look over there in Malachi Hanovi, where it's written, then it's the hemshech of the pasuk to what comes before it lends to a more what you might call related or somewhat limited pirush in the pasuk. And that's what Rashi learns over there. That Rashi learns that ki is like a nesinas tam on what is written earlier, in which the Novi is mochiach the Yidden and reprobates them. And he says, Ki ani avai eloi shonisi, I have not changed my opinion or my deya, my outlook, kaviohu, my approach does not alter. Being as I am divine, that I'm Elikus, and I don't alter my principles which have been written in the Torah. That's basically the idea. And therefore, what it means is that I never changed or altered my opinion about Tova, Ra, and the reward and punishment and things of that nature. The basic principles, which I've already stated on many times, then I have not and don't intend altering them. That's the simple taitcha ki ani avaya loisha nisi. That's how Rashi learns it over there. And then he says, V'atem b'nei Yankiv lo yichilisem, and you will not pass away, or you'll not reach a cessation, as we pointed out, is also a moral reprobation. The Abish said, even though you may not get your punishment in this life, but you people don't pass away. When you pass away, then you don't cease. You continue to live in what you might call the life to come, or the world to come. So over there, it's no difficulty for me to carry out my retribution for what you've done. And even if you don't get in this life, then in a future life there will be the punishment. And that's what he writes about. You don't literally pass away, so it's no problem for me, if not now, at some future state of existence, and I'll always be able to literally, how do you call it, gather my star. I'll always be able to gather in what is due to me literally by the form of retribution, punishment for dvarim ka'ela. That's the simple taitcha Rashi learns the pasuk, and there's quite a few other, the Pashtanu Yamikra, the Metzudas David, and others, so they'll learn a very similar pshat. And it's only the Ibn Ezra over there, the Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra, he learns a period which is somewhat similar to what we learn here, and what Chassidus brings down, that he says that Ani Hashem Loi Shonisi, that Ani Loi Nitan Le Mikrei Hazman, that he said, I don't alter according to the alterations of time. As they learned to Ibn Ezra, in other words, that if I said something, it remains and it stays. I'm not likely to be altered by what you might call historical alteration, as they learned the Ibn Ezra. So that's somewhat similar to what we're learning here. It's only a slightly more conceptual idea. It's not limited to the more immediate context of the Navi over there in the Navi. And just by way of, since today there was a Kinus Torah, just to add a further dimension to that, but it's well known that the Gemara Masechta Seita brings down this pasuk, and Seita is a Masechta which is certain people who managed to be tenacious during the Yemei HaOmer, managed to learn the Masechta, is in the early part of the Masechta, in Daf Tes, the Gemara Masechta Seita brings this pasuk, Ani Avaya Lui Shonisi, in a slightly different way, and with another taich, very different than what we teach here in Chassidus. And it teaches that Ani Avaya Loi Shonisi, from Loshen to double up, from Loshen Sheni, to do a second time over, that normally with other peoples of the world, I don't punish them more than once. I punish them and then that's it. There's nothing really much more to punish or whatever. V'atem, however, in your case, B'nei Yankiv lo yichilisem, you've not been brought to cessation, even though in your case I've taken punish you more than once. As they state taught in the Gemara. So we see from that the Gemara learns the word shonisi, shonisi. I haven't repeated myself more than once, or I haven't made twice, literally. Yes, from Loshen Sheni, a different pirush altogether, and that's a very profound inyan. The dafki by the Yidden, the Eibishter is persistent. By the Goyim, but he punishes him once, either that finishes him off, or the Goyim, probably because they're so simple, they manage to learn Musa, and so they don't ask for further trouble. And that's what we find the famous Indian by Nineveh, the Yaina Hanovi. We say that famous story of Yaina Hanovi on Yom Kippurim. And there's a lot of people pay a lot of money in the bidding in the shuls to get the schools to read the what's called Maftir Yoina. Have you ever heard of Maftir Yoina? So if you haven't, you have now. It's considered a very great and special Zgula Dika honor to read the Mafta Yoina in the shul on Yom Kippurim, when people pay big money. The bidding goes very high sometimes in the shuls. And our Rebbeim used to get Mafta Yoina, as well known. And they were very, very anxious and makpid that they should get the Mafta Yoina, as the famous story has it. Doesn't it?
What famous story?
They say, don't know the famous story. Well, I don't know if it's famous, but there is a story of the Rebbe Rashab when he was once outside Lubavitch on Yom Kippur with the Rebbe Rayatz, and he was in a shul. He didn't used to usually daven there. It was what you might call, in inverted commas, a Balbatisha shul, well outside Lubavitch. And the Rebbe approached the Gabbai with the Rebbe Rashab. After Rosh Hashanah, he approached the Gabbai and said that he would like very much to have Mafta Yoina. And so the Gabbai answered him by saying that Rebbe said, I can give you whatever you want, just name whatever it is. Well, he didn't call him Rebbe, he said Rabbi. He didn't know he was a Rebbe at that point. And he said, you just name anything and I'll get it for you and I'll try to provide you with it. But I can't give you Mafta. Can't give them Mafta Yoina. So the Rebbe Rashab went up, he offered him a much bigger sum of money, and he said he'll offer that sum of money. And so the guy said, look, I'm sorry, Rebbe, I can't, I can do anything you wish, but I can't give you Mafta Yoina. So the Rebbe Rashab was very taken aback, very disappointed, but he saw that there wasn't anything to do, so he said, well, if that's the case, then I'll have to withdraw my bid. So everything went through, and then Yom Kippur by night, the Gabbai, he saw the way the Rebbe Rashab davened Yom Kippur by night. He stayed behind in the shul and davened bariches, and he saw and he heard the way the Rebbe davened on the night of Yom Kippur. So he got this tremendous shock, this tremendous gilui. So the next day, Yom Kippur by day, he came to the Rebbe, and he said, listen, Rebbe, I've changed my mind altogether. He said, you can have Mafta Yoina. And it was shortly before it was actually time to. So the Rebbe was very pleased, and the Rebbe thanked him very warmly. The Rebbe said, thank you. And he said, you have to excuse him, and he went into a side room and he looked over the Mafta, because he thought he wasn't going to have the Mafta. So from that we learned you must always look over the Mafta very carefully before you read it. The Rebbe looked over the Mafta, and he came out when it was Bidut the moment, they called him out, and the Rebbe read the Mafta Yoina. So on the Moitzi Yom Kippur, you got to know the story. So on the Moitzi Yom Kippur, the Gabbai came to the Rebbe Rashab, where the Rebbe Rashab was eating the Suda, Moitzi Yom Kippurim. And he came round and he said to him, he said, listen, Rebbe, he said, I want to, this time he called it Rebbe, not Rabbi, but Rebbe. He said, I want you to know, I want to apologize. He said, why at the beginning I made such a problem about not giving you the Mafta Yoina. Because he said, I've worked here in this shul for years, and I've been a devoted Gabbai here for years, and he said, I don't take any, I don't gain any particular parnasa from it. I don't take any shachar for doing the work. He said, one thing, and I never have an aliyah the whole year, I never take any of the aliyahs. He said, one thing is, it's been agreed with the shul for years, one thing, my reward is that on Yom Kippur in the afternoon, I get Mafta Yoina. That's my one thing the whole year, and that's my reward for all my work. He said, therefore I told you I can do anything for it, but I can't give them up there, because that's very dear to me, and that's my whole reward for my whole work here in the shul. He said, therefore you'll forgive me at the beginning that I said I couldn't give it, but he said, when I saw your davening on Yom Kippur night, and I saw your behavior, and I saw, who you were, he said, then I realized that, that I'd done a terrible thing, that I'd kept from you the Mafta Yoina, and I realized that the Mafta Yoina was obviously yours, and so I decided I would give it to you. Understand? So the Rebbe was very thankful. The Rebbe thanked him very, very much. And then he said, Rebbe, he said, I have a bakosha. So I have something I wanted to ask. In other words, he said, normally I would not have asked. I'd put there. Because I said, after all, gave you Mafti. I said, Kilo, could you do something for me? Normally the Rebbe Rashab was very, he didn't like taking such things. He particularly in those years, he used to say that he doesn't have any, no charge to those sort of things. Don't bother me, don't ask me. But when the Rebbe Rashab heard him say that to him, the Rebbe Rashab said, tell me what it is. And willingly, the Rebbe Rashab said to him, tell me what it is. And he told him that he had a son who was very unwell, and that something had happened to him, and he'd gone sort of, all strange, and that he was sort of like out of life. It was impossible to communicate with him. He'd had some very strange happening, like a form of a complete loss of his mind. And he said it's a terrible blow to him and to his family and to his wife. And it's very painful to see this everything. So the Rebbe Rashab said to him that Milch Hashem is a Tovner of Force, or as a Hovner of Force flame. He gave him a very definite bracha, and in 2 weeks the son just returned completely to normal, with no medical intention, no nothing. He just got better, and then all of a sudden he just became completely clear again. And so we see that was the Pa'ula of the Indian of Mafti Yoina with the Rebbe Rashab. Anyway, how do we get onto that? So we see that by the Goyim, the Eibishter said once that they listen. If you studied the Mafti Yoina, then why is it that Yoina didn't want to go? Why is it they didn't want to go? You know the story, the Mafti Yoina, that Yoina tried to flee, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think we have to stop. I don't know if we have to stop it. We have to do something about this Indian of the Shavuos by night, Because first of all, we've got about 4 guys who are sick, 5. The Rabbi himself is not well, Rabbi Bolton. He complains of feeling very ill. And you've been sick, and Chayzos, now he's really managing to hold himself together. He's just falling off completely. It's different generations. People just can't take it, People, they miss a night's sleep. They just seem to really fall out completely. So I don't know what we do about it, but I think in the future we should make it. Anyway, it doesn't have to appear. Anyway, we always have to do something. So what I'm doing now is giving a little bit of a sort of my status in the Kinus Torah that occurred this afternoon. Is that if you study carefully why Yoina Hanovi didn't want to go, why did he try to avoid the whole thing? So it's brought down. The Biur is there that Yoina Hanovi, he didn't want to go, not because he didn't want to give over a Nevuah. He knew that if you had a Nevuah from Hashem, you had to, you're not allowed to be koivish Nevuah, so you're not allowed to hold back your Nevuah. If you're given a Nevuah by Hashem, you have to say it out. Well, he didn't do it because of Avos Yisrael. Pirush, that Yoina Hanovi knew that the Goyim, that they're very easy to give them Musa. And once you give them Musa, the Hedikot, they get a clappers and they do tshuva and they're ready for anything. They should be all right. And Yoina knew that if he went and told them that this and this is going to happen to them, that they will probably do tshuva and they'll correct it. But at that particular time, there was problems with the Yidden. The Yidden weren't behaving the way they were. And he knew that no matter how much Musa he gave the Yidden, there was only a suffix as to whether they're really going to listen. Because unfortunately, the Yidden are not so easy in that Indian like the Goyim are. And therefore, he didn't want to be Makatri after Yidden. He knew that if he went to Ninveh, that the Abish would have a taina that, you see, the Goyim, listen to me. What's with the Yidden? They don't... I've already sent them several Nevi'im, but they don't listen. Rachmani Nitzlan, that's a kitrug. If you didn't know, he didn't want to be good of that kitrug. And that's the whole reason that he was so anxious not to give over his Navua to the point that he tried to flee to the sea. So my answer is also unbelievable. Shail, what's it help him to flee to the sea? I mean, but the Abish is everywhere. Malay kol oretz kaveda, such mine was oretz ani malay. Who's with his helping that he fled to the sea? He's already so verschlafen that he doesn't even know what we're talking about. Who's with his helping? So there's a shitta pliya in the Rishonim that's put down in great Sforim, and they even base it on certain mashmoyas and in certain madrashim that the inim for Navua is not hal on the ocean. That if you're in the ocean, because of the tsar of being in that the Navi is not able to be makabel or mitzat the water itself. There's a whole shitta that Yoina Navi fled to the sea, that he was hoping that Kiri'd be able to have a teretz, that he wouldn't be able to get any more Navuas, and he'd be able to sort of say that he forgot the first Navua. That Kiri the Abish wouldn't be able to chase him up while he was in the sea. And the Pharaoh to Hobn auch upon him a mitzvah's teretz, that there wasn't any follow-up of it. Or under the Pirushim that Stami wanted to play for time or Kayitzav. He didn't want to carry out the etzem. And he's gewollt, and das mitzad Ahavas Yisrael. Mitzad Daiga Amiti is for the Teva van Yidden. Auch upon him we see from that Yidden is difficult to get through to them. They're such holy people, such individual people, they have such unbelievable koiches Yidden, that they can use that in a way of akshonas. Yeah, am kashay oirev, that it can become a inif and akshonas bepashta. Instead of being Lamal Yusa, like Moshe Rabbeinu meant when he said, Ab Kivshei Eirefu. And that was the whole reason why Yoina Novi didn't want to go, and he didn't want to be Manabias Navuot. And that's what the Abish says here in the Gemara, Masechta Yoina. He said, Ani Avaya Loi Shonisi. By Goyim I never had to double up. I've never had to bring on them punishment or Teichachas more than one time. He said, by the Yidden, he said, I've had to do it time after time. Yeah, and that's the touch. Atem b'nei Yankiv loy chilishim. Rachmon yinitzlan. However much I clap you guys, you still keep coming back more. Rachmon yinitzlan. There's the mashmayas from the Gemara Masechta Sotah. If I'm afraid that the Shaila ad Masai. Ad Masai will the Yidden mamish sof kol sof be makabel from the Navi. Of America Shaila Neuchachis, which is Mamish Nakeh B'chayenu Onu B'zmanim Eilu. There's already 10s and 20s or 30s of years that the Navi has been shraying and he's been saying to Yidden. And he got all these Yidden all over the world, and they say, oh, yes, he was a great man, and he said good things, but we know better. Who you see yet? It brings punishments, it brings all sorts of not good things on the Yidden. And by the Goyim and the Charta, the Goyim, the Abish gives them one clap, and all of that, that's the end of them, or they just sort of rather naively just back out. Oh, the Yidden just give a cook, one sort of after the other. Ani Avaya Lo Shonisi, by the Goyim nit, or by Atem b'nei Yankiv. Yeah, you never seem to. I never seem to finish you guys off. I just keep coming back. And that's an unbelievable koyach in the Yidden that they're able to be makabel techlacha achrei techlacha. Those doubtless mitzad the whole Indian from Goydel Milos Nishmaso v'gufam v'chulu ato v'chatonu ze mitzad the guf hachumik v'tanyam perik mem ted. Remember, affects the unbelievable Shaila ad Motzai, lefi that Gemara, it's a pillar the Gemara. Ani Avai Loisana Goran under the Pshat we stayed over, and ganz under the Pshat. And another Pshat all together, and be Rashi so. Do it in the Pasuk. The father Pasuk heard to him a key in the eyes of what I just said before. Ani Avai Loisana, other say the pillar. So that's a brief status in the Inif and the Kinnis Torah. With an Afkamina Lamaisa, listen to the Novi and pay attention to what he says. and know that that is the one and only way. If there's any time left. And so the Ein and Ein Shekizach is what is possible is that Moshiach is doch a Novi Godel. The Moshiach himself is the great Novi, the Novi HaGodel, Kemo in the Rambam, Hilchos Tshuva. There is no greater, the Novi HaGodel, who is anyway Moshiach, he has to come, and that's all. That's what it seems. The Tzar al Kol Regel, Verregel. Auch upon him Ad Kan, the brief status in the Kinder's Torah to us today. But it seems to me that that's what all the Pilpulim in the Kinder's Torah is, that's what they should say, that's what they should talk about. Instead of being Mefalpul, they should be Ma'era D'Yidin, and say that Ad Mosai, and that we must listen to the Koil Anovi, we must learn from Mafti Yoina. That's why the Rabbeim, that's why they wanted so much to read that, because it is the pnimius and secret and the sort from the ganze Mafti Yoina is how much you have to love the Yidden and how much you have to want to not to put the Yidden in a situation where there might be a kitrug. And that's what we see always. The Rebbe spoke, or even chiyuvi, he spoke only in a way that there can only be a good outcome midvoro. And so you had to listen to the Rebbe, but even chiyuvi. There's also a negative. It's mavur and siddur that if you say a dover chiyuvi and you're madgish a dover chiyuvi, then you're also with that you're shoyl another in, and you cause a negation like be another zach. Yeah, but that's indirect. However, the way of the Rebbe is that he says all the inyonim bo'ifin chiyuvi, and the shlila is moving mizet, but not the ikke is on the shlila. The shlila is moving me'ela, but that's the inyan. Or yesh inyan kazeh. If I'm the whole inyan from the Rebbe is bring Moshiach, do good to the world, bring the emes taklis, the emes toy. And the shlil of them is, if you're not going to be busy with that, Rachman in Islam, would you between a room and a room? And if it's not enough, all the tzorah's truths would have been adkan. That's the pirush of the Gemara Masechta Sotah of that pasuk, ki ani avaya loisha nichi. So due to the fact that it's Yisro Chag, what Yisro means that you bind yourself up to the Chag and you don't like to leave it. So we see that we bound to certain peoples, that they bound themselves so much up to being up by night shvuas that they can't quite carry it, that if they can't get away from the Chag. The Chag is Moshe say b'chazor. Ja, dat hij heeft somehow another Oisloven zich, or Oisruin zich, or ook op hem op een stikkel ervoor slijmen met deze even van de aspoor op de Chag. Ook op hem drie keer de even is hetzelfde, being a good even, being an even for Yankiv Holok Ladarkoi, we take all the tremendous Giluim, Achmiim from Chag Matan Teroseinu, we take him out into the way, but it should be Mashpia. B'kol HaProtim, we should all be noticeable upon us that we are Yidden, that we're Makabel the Torah Mechodah. Okay, so now we go after that, what you might call Maimah HaMuzga, after that parenthetical remark, we'll go back briefly to some of Vav. Why do I say briefly? Because I see it's a little bit of somewhat of a schlep, this issue. I don't know how far we're going to get, because I can notice other eyes are also drooping. Not only the ones here to my left. It's, the far, we'll just have to learn a few Nakudas, and we'll just have to hope that Be'ez Hashem, it'll be Hadikot. Tomorrow is another day. So, auch upon him, what do we touch here? Ksiv, Ani Avai Eloisha, Shonisi, that here we touch another in that the Abishah says all these inyanim that he said before, ki, because ani avai lo shonisi touch the Rebbe sheloi yesh, and we said that the word lo yesh we touch as well known. Lo yesh is in correct Hebrew, you don't say lo yesh, you say ein. But lo yesh is used by the Rebbe Rashab when he wants to completely negate something entirely. There is this lo yesh. Shelo yesh shum shinui klau mitzad isavasor oilamas v'kamayma atu ad shelo nivra ha'olam ve'atu hu shemisha nivra ha'olam atu hu mamish. In other words, that's what we say every day in davening prior to Shacharis, the famous statement of the Tefillah. And we mentioned, brought down another nusach in the Taz and some of the other early Acharonim, but they bring down another old nusach, but we follow Davke the nusach, Atu Acher, Loi Nivra Atu Acher, Misha Nivra Oilam Atu Acher, Loi Nivra Oilam Atu Misha Nivra Oilam. In other words, that Davke the expression Nivra Ha'oilam. And that's also a big diuk. But if it weren't for the fact that I saw that everybody was Belavochi in Gora for Shlof and Namachiv, then we would go into that diuk also. But maybe Beregazeh will just accept it. We see that the Eibush is the same Ator prior to the Bria and Achar the Bria, that there's no Shinui Mitzadis Avos Ha'olam. So we saw that that's in 2 Ifanim, that there's no Shinui. Even though there's now come about the Oilamos, because we have to say that the Oilamos have some form of Matthias, Al Pitoira. Otherwise, if they don't, then there's no such thing as Bereshis, Bora, Elohim, Esa Shamayim, Vesa, or which is written, Auda, a Maisa that happened in the Torah, is a simon that there is some gather of Matthias Koshu in the Indian of the Nivroim. And so the fact that they are now there, the Eibush has to write that, they have some sort of a nafkamina legabei. And we saw the other pshat is that lo yichal bei shum shinui, that in himself there wasn't any shinui, because normally when you do something you're masasik, but he's in it causes in you a atzumas lev and a hamshocha le'inyanahu, which is a shinui legabi your previous situation. And if we say that by the Eibush that it's not shayach, there wasn't any shinui loy mitzad the etzem fact that the elements is there, and there's no shinui b'toichoi in etzem atzmusai ulo itasek b'zeh kaviyachol livroyasa elements. Would that would imply some sort of a shinui boy? V'hainu she'en, so said the Rebbe, well, that means to say that the whole act of the briyas elements is eino k'moi anishoma shemachaya esaguf. שמספעלס ומקבל שינויים ממקרה הגוף. In other words, that the Eibishter, even though he made the Oilamas, and not only he made them, but we have to say that in some way or another, he's betoichom, or even who mityaches lehem, because we say that the worlds are created yeshmi ayin, and something that's created yeshmi ayin, there has to be the koyach of the ayin or amiti inside the yesh, otherwise he has no ability to be what he is. And so therefore we have to say that the Eibishter is somewhere or another present in the Nivroim. However, we say that he's present not like the Islapsis of the Neshama B'toicha Guf, because the Neshama in the body is mispoil, is affected, and has, that he could, reaction, and takes on itself shinuim mi mikrei haguf, from the different occurrences which occur with the guf. Lafi shemelubeshes mamish betoich levushay aguf, because the neshama is mamish melubesh, mamish in the Eivarei haguf, or what we call the garments of the guf, which means the Eivarei. In other words, that we see b'pashtas that even though a mensch has got a neshama, and a neshama is a adova ruchni, nonetheless we see that the nefesh is affected by the mikreya agu. In other words, that if the guf is tired and verschlafen, so then the abilities of the nefesh to be miskale also affected and nechloshim alidei zeh. And the same with the lack of food and the lack of warmth. If it's cold, to the most extreme extent, the mensch is unable to reveal the koiches of the guf, of the neshama, and the neshama is unable to function properly in the guf because it's affected by the mikra, by the events that occur to the body. In other words, that there's an interrelation between the matzav of the guf and the effectivity of the nefesh. So that's what he says, that mikabelis and mispaelis shinuim mimikra aguf. So why is that? Says the Rebbe, because mulubeshes mamish b'toich levushi aguf, because the neshama is melubesh inside the guf, meaning that the guf is only a levush and the nefesh finds itself inside the garment. So when you're mislabish in a guf, that means that your whole self is inside the garment. Therefore, whatever happens to the garment happens to you because you're inside it. Yeah? And you're mamish interrelated by that islabshut. In other words, wherever you enter something mamish, like a guf to a lavush, or like an Indian to a lavush on it, then there's an interreaction between the two, and whatever happens to one happens to the idea. So comes along the Rebbe now, and the Rebbe says, well, wait a minute, what aspect of the nefesh enters the guf? So we have a cloud that not the whole nefesh enters the guf, because we would want a taina that the higher echelons of the nefesh, which we might call the etzem nefesh, or even legabi the etzem of the nefesh ruach neshama, which are the more revealed aspects of the guf, or they are not, or that is not mamish in that state of islabshas. What actually enters the levushi aguf in that close, intimate way are what we call the koichos of the nefesh. Well, that's what the Alter Rebbe calls them in Tanya. The eser koichos are hanefesh. But those are the Indian of the Chochmah, Bina, V'das, and the Sheva Midah. They're the etzem hakoichos that are mislabish in the Evrei Haguf, and that's what he teaches. V'hainu hakoiches shel nefesh k'moi koach haseichel umidos. And now the Rebbe puts in brackets shenikroim lefiyomim atzmus hanefesh legabi levushay machshova dibur u'mas. He said, what in Tanya it's well known that the eser koiches, which are the seichel midas, or the Alter Rebbe calls them on 2 or 3 occasions in Tanya, he calls them atzmus hanefesh. Now he only means atzmus hanefesh in a relative way. Legabi, what is a much lower gili of the nefesh, the hainu, what he calls the levushi hanefesh, machshova, dibur u'maisa, they're called only levushim of the nefesh, levushim of the nefesh, not the levushi aguf, but levushi hanefesh. Or those are called levushim. The eser bechina seichel midas, they are called atzmus legabi zeh. Or legabi lamayla mihem, then they're also called only ha'ora miha hanefesh b'derech tzimtzum. And that's what in the famous Maimon, Likutei Torah, in Pasha Vayikra, right at the beginning, Likutei Torah, Barichas, the Alter Rebbe himself points out over there that Mashe Kosati, Betanya, Sheheim Atzmus HaNefesh, he writes that that's only Legabi the Levushim, Machshava Dibur U'maisa, over Legabi the Pshitas of the Etzem HaNefesh, then they're also called only Ha'oras HaNefesh. Okay, so why did the Rebbe put that in here? Because he's trying to show that they are called a more atzmistic level of the nefesh than other giluim of the nefesh, and so that means that relatively speaking they have a certain status of atzmas. And I might have thought that it's only ha'ora which is mekabel shinuim, or al kaponi is limited in some way by the guf. Yeah, and here we see now that even if these will be called atzmis and nefesh legabi the levushim, which means that they have already a certain gather of atzmi, afu pikein they are affected by the levushi haguf, and their elevated statement of being called sometimes atzmias doesn't help them legabi the interrelation that they have with the guf, that the guf affects them. Shahein nitfosim u'mislabshim mamish be'evrei haguf. They are not only mislabshim, but we notice he now adds the word nitfosim. What nitfosim means, they are grasped. In other words, they are being held or grasped in that Islabshus, which means that the Eivarim have a certain limiting power over the koiches of the nefesh in such a way that they can affect and limit the gilui of those koiches. And that's what we see, that all sorts of things interfere with the ability of the nefesh of those koiches mamish to reveal themselves in a full clarity. And we see that goes on the whole time, the dimensions the whole time. Nilchama, mishtadl, with his guf, that it shouldn't be mavailable, the more clear gilui of the nefesh. And until the point, as it's put in certain places, the famous dogma from Rab Nachman, where the Gemara brings in Baba Kama, that he said that until he's eaten the piece of beef flesh, beef meat that he eats in the evening, his mind can't be clear. Only after he eats a certain thing, then his mind becomes clearer, and then he was able to paskin more clearer when he get to the Dinei HaTorah than what he could prior to that. So we see just how much the koiches are tolu in the mikrei ha'Eivarim for their clarity and for their, what you might call, the toikef hagilui. So there was a Rebbe, that's because they're nitfosim or mishlabshim mamish be'evra aguf or makablim shinuim al yod don, and they take into themselves changes through them, through the evra aguf, bo'ifan ahelim v'agilui shabahem, in a way that is in a manner bo'ifan which affects either their helim or their gilui, either brings to their being hidden or it brings to their ability to express themselves more. And he brings a very interesting and obvious example, being katnes le gadlus. He said, for example, the difference there is between a small man and a big man. Even when we grow up, we shouldn't have we shouldn't be visited with what they call in Yiddish a klein keppele. Right? We shouldn't have small moichen and small other inyanim, even though we've grown up. But anyway, in order not to confuse anybody, cholila, we see that when a cotton is a cotton, as Mavu and Tani and Perik Vod, when he's a cotton and he's not able to use his koiches in a very developed or revealed way, the greater, the older he becomes, then the more the seichel and the more the midas, ameya, in the Evre Haguf. And Hashem should help that they be meir bo'even ha'ra'ui, not just b'toikev shaleim, but bo'even ha'nochen v'ha'ra'ui. What Bishvil say, you need the Indian for mitzvahs chinuch. What that is the Indian for chanoik lanar al pi dar koi. But that was the chittas. The first day of Yom HaShavuos, upon him, the day of Shavuos over here, that was the chittas in Tanya. We learned the whole little piece over there from Chinuch Koton, Chanoik Lanar al Pi Darkoi. No doubt everybody read the whole piece, and I would give a blessing to anybody who really understood what's Dutton State. Even though it looks to be Dvorim Mevuarim Upshutim, or ask yourself to give all these Shalom. What is else everyone with that? Mahu James, what sort of a hakdom is that to Shara Yichud wear? Emunah. I mean, at the end he says a couple of lines. In order, one of the best ways of getting your Ava is to see for the Emunah. Hatohir and boys, so he could have said a couple of lines like that and started over with this huge readers. There's what Ava and another's what Ava. And they're going to read. And yet that's a hakdoma, and through that we know why we have to learn Shara Yichud. Also, upon him we prepare ourselves in some way to learn Shara Yichud. Yeah, it was, I see it doesn't particularly bother anybody, so why should it? I don't want to say that this thing slightly not dignified in Yonim. So therefore, yeah, we have to go further. Also, upon him we see that a mensch needs education. Even after he's grown up a bit. Anyway, what it means is that when you grow up, then the koiches come more into a gilui in the keilim. That's what he says. Yeah, the chilek bein katnas legadnas, shachilek hu beivodim. That whole chilek is only in the vodim. Ali deze na she shinui ba koiches kamishu kosu b'mokim acher. So here the Rebbe says a very important thing. I mean, here we have to say that when Tamid he's being malamas to the whole Indian here, that when we say there are shinuim in the nefesh, maybe we have to be careful. Was it a pshat from them? It's not that there's shinuim mamish in the koiches, but there's a certain hagbola or auch upon him inability of expression b'dvarim adoimim lezeh, which are nifal in the nefesh al yedei dei vorim. That's also called a shinoi. If you're no longer balabos amitius over your kli, and your kli is somehow or another magbilion causes you to alter your essential giloi, then that means a shel shinoi. Or he said the shinoi is be'ikah mitzadei vorim. Now, what does he mean with tamid? It's put down in certain places in Siddur Dvar Pele that in Emerson, whenever a child is born, or whenever anything, wherever a man she is, or wherever he exists, mitzad the shleimus of his nefesh, then all the eser koiches are betachas hashleimus. Every nefesh has got whatever the Eibishter made when he made eser koiches, then every nefesh has got the shleimus of all those eser koiches. In other words, that there's no problem that Ploini ben Ploini, no matter who he is, he can say Ad Mosai. It's an interesting solution, Ad Mosai. He can say Ad Mosai Yagiu Maasai Lamaasei Avram Yitzhak Yangi. He said, when will my deeds reach the deeds of Avram Yitzhak Yang? So that's in the Bossi Legani that I've brought this along. It's put down the Bossi Legani, but how can you compare me with Avram Yitzhak Yang? What's what Dimion is? Elamai, the answer is no, that everybody's got the same koiches. Mitzad the shleimus hanefesh, mamish also nefesh, everybody got the same koiches. The seichel and the midas, they've all got the same potentialities. The thing which limits everything is the evorim. Well, that's what causes all the shinuim between other people until you say, halavai, that my ad mosai, until my deeds are going to become like Avram Yitzchak Yankee, it might be quite a heck of a piece of ad mosai. And we have to say that the ad mosai, when I get to Mashiach Tzidkenu, was much, much less than that ad mosai. However, what's the child to say ad mosai? Elam Chassidus, it might be that you really have in yourself the same koyach hasech as Avraham Avinu got. Now Avraham Avinu had his holy body, and he was given such a special kli by the Eibishter that by him was able to come out. But Ashleimus, and by you, your Evarim, and your Harikod, whatever's, your different Gufniastika in Yonim, they don't allow the full revelation, even though compared to Katnas Legadlis, there is a bit of a chilek. But it's only a relative. It's only a relative chilek. Because the Evarim, they don't allow the Tachas HaShleimus of the Gilui. That's already tolui b'inyonim acherim. That's already tolui in the purity of the Evarim and in the schus and in Nochas Och Inyonim. That's already tolui in the Aveda or the perfection or what was given to him, like the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. Yeah, Perik Beis, it could be the mitzad his parents, v'chulei v'kan shvisa was it the Nakuda dort. As a door verschiedene inyanim in the Evarim, what they alter and they don't allow these galas of the shleimus and nefesh. But in the Chanami, everybody really mitzad the koyach is the same. Holy State, everybody. What Lafisa come to is that a cotton is not really a cotton. A cotton's really got everything in him. The Shleimus from Seichel and Midas, he told me that he's Evorim and not Kalim to it. The way they have made those Evorim, they're not Kalim to the godless of the Koich. Pili Plois from Azar. It sounds as if somebody's getting a Levitic up there after all. It sounds as if they're just beating on the floor with their feet. It's like, it doesn't sound like a normal dance. Maybe, yeah. Immer mehr kommt zu Eislafise. Ja, als mit der Mitte verstandig kann man bekommen in Jonim. And with the mit, you can't just belittle anybody, even a cotton is really a godly. He's got all the koiches, just that he's not able to bring him out into, and he's got to be slain, talking so slain. And that's why everybody can really be like everybody else. That's why Halavai would be like a Roma. Avina was crazy. You want to be like a Roma? Oh yeah, you could really be. But just that they put him are not able to take care. En wij is het de maand. Was ze gewend. Who was it? It was Rav Zilsha, I think, Rav Zilsha Napoleon. Well, he said to the Abish, he said he said Lamayla that he wants a gilui, if it was, he would like a gilui, he'd like to experience it, if a gilui lakusvi to give him by Romovin or by the Naviim, I forget exactly where he started. So the Abish said to him, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'd like to answer you, but they were Megala, him no Maila, it's just impossible, it's not Chaya. Can't possibly do that. So then he went down a few generations. He said, maybe Megala, me like the trails of the latter Nevi'im. Sorry, my boy, the Chaya. So he went to the Tanoim, the Amorayim, Tanoim and the Amorayim. They got down to the Gionim. And in the end, he said, the Rambam, so, they said, oh yes, now the Rambam, you're going to have to take it as tremendously easy, but maybe we can give you if it was, so Stichler Hora, you should be able to feel in your koich, in your goof, the Giluf is given the Yirah Shamayim by the Rambam. So she said, oh, this is Gewaldig, let's have it. Rav Zusha, he said, yeah, okay, sorry. So they gave him the Afarega, the Yirah Shamayim from the Rambam, and he just collapsed on the floor. He was just completely out. He just even Rav Zusha, but his body never hardly no chumrias to it, the whole matter. He said, people came running and said, well, what's happened? So he had no brayer, but he had to ask that Dave should take it away. Where's it in the mind? Not even the Yirah Shamayim from the Rambam. That was the closest he could get that he could. So we see that it's all the Evrei Agud. This is how Guf is, and Mitadei Tam, they're not Mezuchochim, Maspika, we should be able to be Makabel. Of Eino Chanami, it's all the same koich, just that they worked on their bodies in a different way. They had a different approach to this whole Indian. Whether the Taichi have a Guf, or whether the Taichi have a Kli. But they knew that the whole Indian of the Guf was only a Kli to the Nefesh builder. They didn't spend any of their time being Masharis to go. You got to be careful of these guys. You have to look after yourself. You have to be gesund. You can't be. We don't want any of you guys walking around with a Gilui of the Yirah Shamayim from the Rambam, because we're not going to be Mekayim, the fairy tale of all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. And the time we wouldn't be able to put you all together. We got no time to run around picking up the pieces. It's a mirror, that's the Indian, the Evrei Agufet is not able to be Mekabel. And that's what the Rebbe says, that the Shinui Achiluk Hu Beivarim. In other words, if the Kalim are not able to Mekabel, then what can the Koiches do? Like, just can't be mis. If a mirror comes to us that the Shinui are not in the Etzem Koyach, is not Mishtani. It's just not able to reveal itself. Remember, that's heißt das Shinra, like what it could really do. That's Agbola. Hanashinra. So then he says an even greater Chiddush. Well, that will maybe finish for the evening, because we see that there's some difficulties in holding the neshamas and the gufas together by certain parties. What the Rebbe said even more than that. But gam etzem hanefesh, hagam she'enu mulubeshes mamish baguf, ve'ein bo shinuyim dekatnas ugadlas, mikol mochim hari hi nitfeses gam kein baguf umugderes boy. Shahari be'eshe machaya es aguf hazeh, eine yechila lahachis guf acher. Harei shehi mugderes boy al chaponim. It's a simon that she is mugda, had it called fenced in somewhat, had it called limited, defined somewhat by this body. Now when we say here the etzem and nefesh, we also need to know, what does he mean? He doesn't mean the etzem and nefesh in Isha L'mayla, come over become a Mekayim. No, he means the etzem and nefesh, which is mamish yered l'mata, and is nimtza beguf zeh, v'lo beguf shel mishu acher, or lo bekloras ha'olam. And that's alternative. The Mittler Rebbe brings in the famous Maimah, the famous Ato Echad, Shimcha Echad. The Rebbe's got a whole beer in the Sichos about it. That the Mittler Rebbe said that the Yechida shebenefesh, the Emes HaMadrega from Yechida, is nimtza b'darad ha'moisav shel Adam. It's not mamish melubish b'toich haguf, but it finds itself in the darad ha'mois b'sovi. Yesh lefalfa b'zeh, v'yesh lahagdir sinyan hazeh. Well, I can make another addition to the Kinnis Torah alidei tzat biyah v'pilful b'zeh, v'ain kana mokim, due to the fact that the kelim are not able to be mekabel v'regas zeh. So maybe we have to put that off maybe to another point, but the union of that Hagdorah is that the etzem hanefesh is shaykh to that body, but not mamish melubish b'teicha. Aber beishu even, is mashpia in that group, because if not the Yechidah, then it wouldn't be the chayas of the chaya and the other madrigas. So of course, the etzem somehow or another gives the ultimate okay that the chayas should go out and be machayah at a good. It's just that's mudal mi etzema islabshas. So you might have thought, well, that etzema nefesh, which is also upon him shaykh to that goof, being as it is not mulubish mamish in the avarim, you might say, well, that's not affected by the avarim, and that remains in the avarim from shleimus l'mayla mi kol shaychas ela goof hazeh. So the Rebbe said, pink fakir. That etzem, whatever we'll call it, chaya or yechida, or that etzem is mugda al yedei ishpashtus, what it gives forth. Since it gives out a ishpashtus, but ain't no chanam, it's only a ishpashtus, it's only a ha'ora, it's not mamish etzem mi'atzmai. It's only a ha'ora, or it's somehow or another nitfas also in that ha'ora. Be covered. Since after all it gives out a ha'ora to be machaya that particular group, then it doesn't give out a ha'ora to be machaya another group. Is a simon the beis even it's shayat dafki the group there, and therefore it's mugda dafki alidei group there. Beis Yudera. And the famous beer which you brought on that in Siddur, it's brought down also later in the Hemshech a little bit, it could be Kulei Ulai, that we might reach that. I hope we won't reach it before Mashiach comes. Upon him, after Mashiach comes, it'll be much easier for us to reach it. His state there's a famous Dugmal there from what reported in the Zohar Kodesh, Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, he used to learn with a group of Chachamim which are called the Idra, or he learned with them the Idra, or in the Idra. What a Idra means, like a Shir, or a group of people learning together. But so a Shir is called a Idra. And I remember Rabbi Shimon was teaching with the Idra, and he used to teach with Rabbi Avnei Sarah and others. But they used to have Eliyahu Hanavi used to come and learn with them. Eliyahu Hanavi used to come and learn with them. So once, it so happened that Rav Amanenu Saba wasn't there. He wasn't there by the shiur. And oddly enough, Eliyahu Hanavi was also not there by the shiur. So Rabbi Shimon said, "My high," and he tried to make a kesher with Eliyahu Hanavi to ask him, "Lama loy bosa ela shiur." So it's brought down that Eliyahu Hanavi sent a message to somehow or another. He communicated with Rabbi Shimon that he hadn't come to the Idra because he had to go to be matzil Rav Amanenu Saba. But that particular moment, Rav Amanenu Saba was in a tzara. Something happened that he was in a difficult, very difficult situation, and he was sent no mila to save Rav Amanenu Saba. So everybody said, "Was it the bayar? Eliyahu Hanavi is a malach. He can be over there and be over here with. Was it the bayar?" There's a problem with Eliyahu Hanavi. So the answer is that what happened was that he was sent ad kedikach ashaliyah that he was mislabish in a guf. And he had to be mislabish in a guf to go and help Rav Amanenu Saba. And therefore, even though he's Eliyahu Hanavi, and he can be in several places if he wants, or once he's mislabish in a guf, then I feel the etzem from Eliyahu Hanavi, be'oisi azman shu nimtza beguf is al kopanim mugdar, he's in that guf and nishka andere inyan. Therefore, he couldn't be bepoil in another place. In other words, you can't be a neshama, afilu ha'etzem, be machaya two guf is bevreg echad. You can either be in one guf. How's the old expression have? You can't be in two places at one. Was von dem hört man eine andere Sache. Von dem hört man, but agav, that when he used to come to the shiur with Rabbi Shimon and the Idri is also given an agur. That was a shayla. Why isn't he here? And the church was because he's over there. He's over there. Kon sein do. So first the gewaltige shayla was Eliyahu Hanavi comes up brisen. What about it could be that one day there'll be more than one bris happening in two places in the world. And for the Rebbe Rashav schreibt for it that Enochanami when Eliyahu Hanavi goes to a bris, it's a nitzos min nishmosei. I will have davke that he comes in a guf. He can be become a mekaymes. Yeah, nitzos it's mimena can be become a mekaymes bezman echad. How can you go to different places at once? Oh, but such a thing. He slaps his beguf, then he can only be in one place. I feel that the etzem from Eliyahu Hanavi can only be in one place. And that's what he means to say, that it can't be machaye guf acher, only guf there. Harishi he mugderes auch upon him. Yeah, Mashiach came to the Rebishter is Machaya, everything who ain't no Mugdar. He's not Nitvat, and he's not Mislavish, and not anything. And we'll see about that in Beis Hashem, the future and coming and developing episode, hopefully, with Mashiach Tzid. With Mashiach Tzid.
Why do we open the door then on Pesach? Why do you open the door for Eliyahu Hanavi?
Oh, that's a very good one. Yeah, wasn't Mitzleil Pesach? This is very good. And we have to say it's only on Nitzot because he comes to all the Dorim. As if he comes to the Guf, if he say he can't come to the Guf, all the Dorim. So we have to say, Ulai ein noch anam jetzt kemo in a bris. That's a nitzot shemeno. Aval yesh, that's a very good shaila. Yesh kama heichachas. It's getting a bit sort of like, I mean, it's the night of the Kinder's Torah, the mutter kitzatle to say it's a svara. In we could suggest that Afal Pikein, the inyan from Eliyahu Hanavi on Leil Pesach is a inyan from Mamosh. It's a inyan from Mamish Islab's Beguf. There's a Mamish Eliyahu Hanavi, which you can chop him by the gartel. You know what the old expression in Yiddish is? You can chop him by the gartel. Therefore, that's what you should have done. You were such a battler on the night of Pesach, you didn't do it. He should have chapped Eliyahu Hanavi by the gartel. And he just said to him, Hezekiah Eliyahu Hanavi, you're here and you're not going back until you finish off the whole job. That's what you should have done. That's what I should have done. We had to say that Eliyahu Hanavi kommt ja. Nou, hoe is het dan? Eliyahu Hanavi kommt and it's even that Mashiach will come. Mashiach is going to come to everybody, to every Yidden all over the world. And yet he's not going to be divided up just on Nitzot. It's going to be Mashiach Tzidkenu, Einen Einzige, Mashiach Tzidkenu. But he'll just be seen and recognized that his being will just meet everybody, but even L'mayla Mimatida V'Hak. So we have to assume that that's the Indian of Pesach night. And there's even a Mazer. Weißt du von der Mazer? Purity gesagt. I mean, you guys know the form of the Mazer. What's it about? It's written that after a certain year, by the Seder, the Rebbe Rashab, he used to pour the kosher Eliyahu Hanavi, and then after the Seder was emitting in by our Rabbein, they used to pour it back into the bottle. They used to they used to sing Keli out of they used to sing Keli out of B'Shas Meiser. So the last few years, the Rebbe Rashab, before he poured it back into the bottle, he poured a little bit of wine into the glass. You don't understand. What are you battling? You don't understand. Well, you don't understand. He poured a little wine into the glass and then he poured it back into the bottle. Come on, where are you guys? You don't know what a kos pogum is? A kos pogum is when somebody drank from it. When somebody drank from the glass, and how do you matak in the pagima? You pour a little bit of wine in. This why did the Rebbe Rashab pour a little bit of wine into the glass of Eliyahu Hanavi, because he understood that Eliyahu Hanavi had drunk from the wine. And then he poured it back into the bottle. And I say the Frierdiker Rebbe used to do. I had never heard of it. I must say I have to look it up and see if the Rebbe did it. But I would imagine the Rebbe probably did it. If the Frierdiker Rebbe did it, the Rebbe. When the Rebbe Rashab, the state clause, the Rebbe Rashab did that. He said, he said that Eliyahu Hanavi mamish drank from the glass. As if he drank from the glass, that's not a nitzot. Das heißt, I mean, Klau was higher than all these Agbolas. Das is a goof kloli v'atzmi, what he gives a run around to all. He sort of runs around and he appears amazingly at all the places he needs to. Amen, Kenya Hirotz, and let that be the problem. How are we going to work out the Shire, being in a goof Eliyahu Hanavi can make such an amazing trip, such an amazing tour. Once it'll be these scholars of Mashiach Tzidkenu, or upon the regular live, or Akhrei, or whatever. It just is we're already outside China by Eliyahu Hanavi himself. How can we manage that Eliyahu Hanavi? Because the Tishbi, Yitaris, Kushvazim, he boys, the word Teku in the Gemara means that Eliyahu Hanavi will answer all the Kashi. I would at least thought somebody said, oh, yes, I mean, can you